Colourways makes me think of a bomb. Postponement of the next episode of Pudding Club, which will be back on the 26th of June. At the start of Walking the Dales next episode, I thought your brains would explode. Lovely.
Let me I'll grab that just to show it again, and then I'll just grab my Endy Bits. That was terrible.
That was perfect.
That was awful. That was like putting thumbs up. Thing.
Thank you, darling.
Welcome back, everybody, to part 2 of this lovely. What's it called?
Welcome back to part 2 of my favourite.
You can just see it up there. I can't work my finger. So you can see with the rinse here, there's not a speck of yarn. Not a speck of yarn, of course there is. This is yarn. No, wrong way. It's there.
Welcome, everybody, to the Bakery Bears video show featuring my favourite colourways with Kay Jones. I got my line right.
This time.
Thank goodness. Yes, it's time for a change. Now, don't panic, anybody, because for those of you expecting and looking forward, because we know you guys have been loving this season so far of the Bakery Bears Pudding Club.
Yes.
But it's been unlike any year that we've ever done before.
It's been unlike any year that any of us have done before.
Yes. Because we've been publishing back-to-back shows, and that's not the Bakery Bear way. This is not the way.
We don't normally do. We usually alternate, don't we?
As I'm sure
between
you know.
Pudding Club and New Adventures.
But, as I think the whole world has known in the last few months, it's been like Groundhog Day. I think we mentioned this last time. Every day's been quite similar. And whilst it takes you a bit of time, I think, to sort of, when there's a change forced on you like that, it takes you a bit of time to find your equilibrium.
Still haven't found that.
Well, I tell you something, we found a bit of it, hence the commencement today of a brand new show. Neil, The most exciting thing about today's show is it's not a series.
No.
It's like a one-off documentary special.
A little special.
That may appear again at times throughout the year.
Yep.
Just when you're not expecting it.
As if by magic.
As if by magic. Yes.
What programme was that from?
Also, though, before I forget, it's the start of a whole new era, because you will have noticed at the start of today's show, we did not say welcome to episode 151.
Oh, no, we didn't.
Because, as we all know, age is but a number. We are not interested in age. Oh, no. And what we wanted to do was, we wanted to make a little change, which hopefully is going to benefit you guys, because we're very conscious of the fact, over the years we've had lots of messages from people with regards to finding certain episodes, and we thought if we change the way, because the Bakery Bears, it's always featuring something, isn't it?
Yeah.
We always have something slap bang in the middle of the show that is like the feature of the show. And so from now on, we will be titling each of our shows in this way. So next episode, spoiler alert, will be the Bakery Bears featuring Walking the Dales.
Yes.
Oh, yes. In fact, as some of you watch this, we may well be out filming Walking the Dales.
We will, absolutely, yeah.
Depending on how swift you are. So the numbers will still be there. They'll still be down here with me.
Yeah.
Ah, yes. Francisco. That's fun to say. Yes, Francisco the Bear will still be there with his little number. So for those of you, what do you call people who are into numbers? The numbers will still be there. So, for those of you who think, oh, have I seen episode 156? Oh, I'm not sure.
Well, they won't have. We've not done it yet.
Yes, I know. I'm thinking forwards. Because if you've not seen 146, you just go and look for episode 146.
Yeah.
Well, the number will still be there at the start, still be there down in the corner, so you'll know what number. But the title now changed forever. So you will always know when you're looking back and you're wanting to find one of your favourite episodes, there it will be written before you. Now,
yes,
I've had a man crush.
Oh. Dan has had a total man crush.
Look, it's not a man crush. It's a Latino crush.
So this was hilarious. So we quite often ask Siri to play us something, don't we?
Yeah.
So on this occasion, I just asked Siri to play Ricky Martin. Just, any random...
It's bright outside, it's sunny.
Yeah, any
Feels
random...
like summery music.
Ricky Martin track. And, of course, you instantly think that it's going to choose one of the more well-known tracks.
What, the two?
The two.
Either She Bangs or Livin' La Vida Loca.
Yeah, which is the two that, were very popular in their day, weren't they?
Yes.
But it absolutely didn't. Siri didn't choose that.
No.
She chose...
Pagate.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was just the most amazing track. We were all like, what is this?
There's been certain times in my life where my jaw has hit the floor, and this was one of them. Honestly, musically, it's outstanding. But it's one of many.
He's singing in Spanish, and I think that's what...
love.
Yeah, that's what makes the difference, I think. It just feels different. It feels like he's much more comfortable singing in Spanish.
Yeah.
Than in English.
She Bangs, Livin' La Vida Loca are two out-and-out pop tracks.
Yeah.
Which, up until I heard this, you think, oh, yeah, it's all right.
And you think that's just what Ricky Martin does,
No.
Oh, no!
That's not Ricky Martin.
That's what he does.
My goodness, my mind was blown. I'm into any quality, well-put-together music, and I've never listened to a lot of Latino music before. Oh my goodness!
It's brilliant.
I'm going to be from now on. I have been.
Yeah,
I have been.
Yeah. So,
it's just outstanding, amazing musicianship, superb singing, rhythmically tremendous,
amazing voice.
If you're into music, go away and listen to Pagate by Ricky Martin, and at the end they just change for 2 bars into a completely different time signature, play 2 bars of that time signature straight back to the original time signature, and then finish. And it's like, it blows your mind. It's like,
it's brilliant. Plus he's lovely to look at, isn't he?
Yes.
Oh yes.
So look, if you're wanting a bit of summer fun, go and have a little listen. There's a number of really great tracks, actually. He did an unplugged album, and that's the one that I've been listening to an awful lot.
Just get up and dance music.
And we could all do with a bit of that, couldn't we?
We absolutely could.
Oh, yes.
Get that Ricky Martin on and get up and do a bit of dancing.
Look, there's way too much today to talk about. Way too much.
We've got a lot of knitting today. A lot.
So I think it's time that we found out, Kay Jones, what's on your needles?
Right. Well, I've finished loads of things. These past few weeks, I feel like I've finished loads of things, which has been brilliant. I've got a lot that I've finished today as well. But it left me a bit kind of devoid of things to work on, and I wasn't used to that. I've just kind of been working through and finishing things and not realising that it left me with actually very little to work on. So I've actually cast on 3 new things. So all of my projects today are new. So 3 new projects, which is very exciting, isn't it? And I'm actually loving them all.
And I actually made a conscious decision, and this is no joke. I was also going to cast on 2 new things. But I thought, if I have 2 new things and Kay has 3 new things, what with the change from this being the Bakery Bears episode 151, the postponement of the next episode of Pudding Club, which will be back on the 26th of June, the start of Walking the Dales next episode, I thought your brains would explode. So no, I have 1 new cast on.
You've got 1 new, but it's a very exciting cast on.
Oh yes, but look,
it's brilliant.
I'm stealing your thunder.
Okay, so the first thing I'm working on is a sock, and the yarn links in with something we've already spoken about. There's a new little show in the middle of this episode, and in it, this particular yarn will be making an appearance. This is a colourway of mine called Fairywings. I dyed up 2 of them, and I'm knitting one of them, and this is the other. So I'll show you the colourway first. So this is Fairywings. Oh, it's so lovely. So you can see it's lots of different tones. There's sort of peachy tones, kind of like a rusty peach, and then we've got some pink going through. We've got sort of darker tones of the peach and lighter tones to sort of like almost a tangerine orange. It's absolutely one of my favourites. I love it. So I dyed up 2 skeins, and I'm knitting a pair of socks with the other. Now I'll show you the socks and then I'll explain what's going on with them. So I've popped it on a blocker because I've just finished the gusset decreases, but I haven't finished the sock yet, but I popped it on a blocker so you can see it a bit more easily. So here is the sock, which is the yarn knit up, and oh, I just love how it knits up. I think it's so pretty, and I'll tell you what that heel yarn is in a second. But can you see the lovely design that's on it? Now, I was just going to knit a plain pair of socks, but it's not really me to just knit a plain pair of socks. I kind of struggle just knitting plain. I always want to just have
It's not just you.
I think a lot of us don't. We struggle just knitting, but particularly when it's socks, I think a lot of us like to have a little bit of something going on. So I've added in this gorgeous, and I'll take it off the blocker now. It's a traditional Shetland lace motif, and I've seen this motif several times and just thought, oh, I'd love to use that in something, but just nothing ever really sort of came up. And then I just thought of it with this sock and I thought, oh, I'm just going to pop that in as like little panels running down the sock. So I'll hold it up so you can see, you know, so it's stretched out a little bit. Look how pretty that is. It's so nice. And I did 2 panels running down the front and then 2 running down the back as well. It's really lovely to knit. It's not difficult at all, but it gives you that, you know, bit of something just to think about, and just works perfectly with this yarn. And you know, I was knitting down it, and then I didn't show it to you, did I really, till I'd done, I think, the leg. And Dan just said to me, what's that? And I said, oh, I've just put a bit of pattern into the Fairywings yarn that I'm knitting up. And he said, oh, you're going to release that as a pattern? I said, well, I wasn't thinking of, because I'd just put it in there just to keep me happy, you know. And he said, oh, I think you should. I think people would really like that. And I'll call it Fairywings. Why not? Because, you know, the lace stitch...
Well, it looks like the fluttering wings.
Yeah, it does. You know, and that's the name of the yarn, and it all ties in, and it's a pretty name, so I think that's what I will call it. But what I decided to do, I couldn't decide what to do about the heel. And at first I thought, well, maybe I'll just do it all in this yarn and that'll be fine. But the more I thought about it, I thought, do you know what? I think I might just want a little bit of something just to break it up. So I got looking through my stash and I found a yarn that I thought would work really well. I was just going to use the Cascade Heritage, you know, just a solid colour. But for some reason I thought, that's not quite right. I'll try and find a speckled. So I found this yarn. And it's really pretty. I'll show you the ball in a second, but it's a really pretty yarn. It's got a peach base, which picked up the tones in the sock. And it has got some golden colours in it, but then it's got some flecks of yellow and blue. It's really pretty. And the thing that swung it for me is the name of the yarn, the colourway. So this is the yarn in the cake. Can you see my cake? Does it look different to my normal cakes? Look, this is my normal cake. Look at that. I've got a new ball winder and I've only wound 1 skein so far on it, but so far it's working brilliantly. It's a Knit Pro, isn't it?
Yeah. A review is in the offing later on
a Knit Pro.
in the summer. After she's wound a few balls. I'm going to
wind some more on it and see what I think, but so far it worked brilliantly well. It's really quiet.
That's genius, to be honest, because the recent history of ball winders has not been positive.
No, it hasn't. And it's, you know, the one I was using, which was also a Knit Pro actually, but it was one of the plastic ones, has just been horrendous. This yarn is from Fine Fish Yarns, which is an Irish dyer. She's an Irish dyer. And the colourway is called Fairy Cakes. So I thought, well, I've got fairy wings with my colourway and then fairy cakes. It just all tied in. So that's the 2 colours together, and I think they look really lovely. And just having that paler coloured heel, I think just lifts the thing and allows the fairy wings yarn just to sort of pop a bit. I think it works really well. So I'm going to carry on and finish this pair, and then, you know, I'll get it written up and we'll get that pattern released just as soon as I can, really. But it's very lovely to knit, and I just really liked the idea of it being an old-fashioned lace motif.
Yeah.
I thought that was really nice, and I hadn't ever hadn't even ever swatched this before, and I didn't even swatch it because I thought, oh, this is just for my own sort of pleasure, if you like. I'll just knit it and I'm sure it'll be fine. And that's what I did. I just went straight into it. And by chance, the placement of the lace works really nicely, I think, with the ribbon as well. So it all worked out really nicely. And I love the yarn. It's really, really pretty. So you'll see more of this yarn
later on in the show.
Later on. Dan Jones.
Yes.
What's on your needles?
Well, prepare yourself. I'm going to show you a new cast on that I've cast on twice. Yes.
Oh, you did?
The first time I wanted to have a practice run, so I deliberately Mobiused it.
Yes.
Yes. So then I ripped that out and I started again. Look, I have a problem with magic loop cast on, circular cast on.
It's not magic loop.
No, but any cast on involving a circular needle.
Right.
So I have an issue with circular needle cast-ons, and I don't quite know what it is, because I do the whole turning it in business.
Yeah, making sure. You just got to make sure, haven't you, stitches
I do all that. And it's as if...
He swore blind he did it right. It's like I did it right. I'm like, okay.
It is as if I'm sticking my needle in the wrong place or something, and I'm twisting it as I'm starting knitting it or something. I don't know. But then what I did was... The second time I cast it on, I did your no-jog circular cast on.
Yeah.
And it just totally sorted it. And I think because you've got to have that extra sort of look and fiddle around, that then really, well, I did it absolutely fine.
It was fine, wasn't it, the second
Kay had to do nothing.
I didn't know. I think you got me to check it.
After I'd done it. Yes, I absolutely did.
Yeah.
Because the one thing I didn't want was the same thing to happen again. And I'll tell you why. I like corrugated ribbing, but I'm glad when I've knit through it. And on my first cast on, it was right when I'd finished the corrugated ribbing that I realised I'd twisted it. Look! So I'd knit all the way up here.
Yeah.
And that was the point when...
Oh, wasn't it? I didn't even see it. You didn't even let me look at it. I said, let me check it, but...
No, it was twisted. It was like cascades.
And there's nothing you can do about it.
No. Look, now, anyone who joined me on Tuesday this week for my return to the centre of the yoke will have seen this way further back. But look, I've knit much further on now, and, since I've seen you last, this is obviously a brand new cast on, and look... How much is there? That's
cool. Shall I
a huge amount for me. It's the Norwegian Cowl by Angela Gomez. I'm sure it's Angela Gomez on Ravelry, but that says Angela Gomez Ortega. I'll link the pattern in the show notes, though, anyway, like I always do.
It's a free pattern.
It is. It's brilliant. It's really, really good. It's got all the things in that I really like. And what I mean by that specifically is the type of colourwork knitting that I really enjoy, not really just nice to knit but also to look at, is when the colour changes. It's as if the dominant colour switches with the accent, and you can see that here. Yeah, you can
see that. The green, they're like crosses, aren't they? There's a green one there and a pink one below.
That's when I think really it's nice. Fun to knit, but also as well, I think it's really great to look at. The reason why I like this pattern so much is that it had in quite a lot of challenging little bits. For example, I'd never done 2x2 corrugated ribbing before. I'd done 1x1.
I should show you that.
On the solia, I'd done that on the bottoms and on the sleeves, but I'd never done 2x2. So that was interesting. I had to think about that before, kicking off and getting into it. I think it's brilliant, really.
It's very pretty. It's a very pretty cowl.
Yeah, it's a really pretty pattern, and I'd paid for it, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
The pattern's very simple, so I suppose she's being very generous. Yeah,
it's a one-page pattern, basically, isn't it?
But there's an awful lot of nice... she's put the motifs together, and so I think it's a great design. And there's nothing that is remotely difficult about this. Having it all on one page is just great.
Yeah.
Personally, I'd never before experienced the chart being there on that page and it being little bits, and that's just someone who's never done that before,
I've seen that before.
Initially, I was like, "Oh, that's weird. What do I do there?" Well, you just repeat it.
Just repeat it, yeah.
Don't be so stupid.
And it's designed for a DK weight.
Yeah, so the yarn is lovely. It's yarn that Kay dyed for me. It is Queen Mary's Rose.
Yeah.
And I've no idea what this green is.
I think it's Rose Garden Green.
That'll be it.
Yeah.
That'll be it.
And I dyed it years ago, that.
What I'm pleased about is the speed in which I've got through this so far. And what it shows you is that putting the effort in on more, a bit like you with the Stephen West thing.
Penguono.
Thank you very much. A bit like
doom.
A bit like knitting the Penguono. It changes your perception of. It's a bit like this year.
Yeah.
One of the positives of this year is it puts into perspective all the years which you thought were bad. I like that.
You've got to laugh, haven't you? You really have.
Absolutely.
You've got to find the joy where you can find it currently.
Kate's exactly right, and we said this last time. You've got to look at the positives, and definitely one of the positives is I do think perspective is such an important thing in life as a whole, because when you put things in perspective, everything always is guaranteed to feel a little bit better.
Oh, now this. Let me get out my multiple balls of yarn, because there are many. So I saw this pattern a couple of weeks ago. It's a newish pattern, and it popped up somewhere. I can't remember where I saw it, but it stuck in my head, and I was sort of thinking when I needed something new to cast on over the past sort of week or so, I remembered this pattern, and I went and looked at it on Ravelry, and there's quite a few projects now. A lot of people have cast it on, so there's plenty to look at. And I just thought, do you know what? I want to knit that. And I was in the same dilemma that we've just been talking about with regards to yarn, because it uses a DK yarn and you need quite a bit of it. It's a shawl, which is, I can't remember the last time I knit a shawl. It was probably the Dumbly shawl for my Swish and Flick. I think that's the last shawl I knit, which is a good while ago. But this is a DK weight shawl, and I didn't have any DK weight, in terms of like two sort of solid colours. The yarn it uses, I'll tell you the yarn and then I'll tell you the pattern. It uses Hedgehog Fibres Merino DK. Now that's not a yarn that I can really even very easily get hold of. I don't think I think it might be available in some shops, but it's also an expensive yarn. Hedgehog Fibres, I think, generally is expensive. But I thought, well, do you know what? Let's just have a think about this. I thought, can I actually create some DK yarn from what I've got? And actually, if you double a fingering weight yarn, it's pretty much a DK weight. So I thought, right, okay, let's be a bit creative. So the pattern that I'm knitting, like I said, it's a shawl. It's by Isabel Kramer. It's a paid for pattern, and it's called Cowboys and Angels. Now, I love the name of this. The name of it, I think, really drew me in, because I love two reasons really. The whole cowboy theme makes me think of, and it's not really cowboys, but I'm reading through Little House on the Prairie, the whole series at the minute with Bryony, and it kind of just gives me that Wild West feeling, even though it's not Wild West at all, but it gives me that kind of feeling. And then also the angel aspect of it. Me and Bryony have been watching Buffy again, as I mentioned last episode, and the whole angel thing just made me think of that. So it just gave me a good feeling, the name of it. And then when I looked at the shawl, I absolutely loved it. So it's a triangular shawl, and it's got some lace, it's got some garter, and it's got some bubbles. And I love the styling of it, It's very cool. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to knit that, because it's a long time since I've knit a shawl. I think this would be quite wearable. It's a large thing, but I think it would still be quite wearable. So I needed to create some yarn to knit it with. I didn't really want to, because she's just used one colour. This is the Pollen colourway from Hedgehog Fibres. I kind of wanted to do it in two different colours. Like I said, the pattern isn't two colours, but it lends itself to being two colours, because you have a band of lace and bubbles, and then you have this big swathe of garter, then you have another band of lace and bubbles, and then a rib. And I thought, oh, do you know what? I could do that in two colours, and it would work brilliantly well. So that's what I'm doing, and I'm absolutely loving it. I'll show you where I'm up to, and then I can tell you about the yarns. So I wanted colours that were kind of neutral, because although I love knitting with lots of different colours, I never wear really lots of different colours. So I thought, for once, I'm actually going to knit something that is a colour that I'm actually going to wear. You know, I do wear lots of things that I've made, but I particularly, you know, I love knitting in sort of pastel pinks and things like that, but I don't tend to wear those colours. It's very strange. So I thought, right, okay, I'm going to knit this in some lovely neutrals, but that have got lots of sort of tones and things going on. So this is where I'm up to. I'm in the garter section in the middle, and I've just put it onto a bigger cable so that I could show you more easily. Look at that. Do you love it?
It's great.
I absolutely love it. Can you see the bubbles? Look at the bubbles. And although I've done bubbles before, in the sense of kind of swatching bubbles to maybe try and put them in a design, which I've never done. But I've never actually knit anything that has got bubbles in. And I knew the process of making them. And it's really easy. It's not difficult. It's nothing to worry about. But actually knitting them into this, I love them. They're so cute. And I love how, you know, you do this sort of lattice work. And it's funny because this sort of lattice pattern, I know this pattern really well because I've thought about using it in several designs myself. I love it. It's a really pretty lace pattern. And it's just, I think it just looks gorgeous. And then the lace runs into this band where you've got these bubbles, and then you just go straight into this middle section of garter. So now it makes perfect bedtime knitting, and that's what I'm using it for, just with this garter. But I'll show you, I'll hold it close so you can see the colours. Look at that. So I'll show you the yarns in a minute, but I wanted to have a lighter section and then sort of like a contrast, but for the two to have the same tones. So this lighter yarn has got tones of sort of orange flecks in it, and then the orange flecks deepen in the garter section. And what I will do is, oh, doesn't it look lovely? Isn't it going to be nice around my neck? Oh, beautiful. I do look a bit like a cowboy, don't I?
Yeah.
So you'll get this big section of garter here, and then I'll go back to this colour to repeat another section of the lace and bubbles. And then I'm going to do, there's just like a rib that goes around the bottom. I'm going to do the rib back in the darker shade. And I think it'll look fantastic. And it's knitting up so lovely and quick because it's DK weight, and it's on 4.5mm needles. I'm using what the pattern suggested. I didn't swatch or anything because I don't think for a shawl this size it's going to be there or thereabouts, the gauge, you know, so I just thought I'm not going to swatch. I really don't think it's necessary. And it's just lovely. Look, it's so nice. So what I did for the lighter section, I'm using a Cascade Heritage, and this is the Lunar Rock colourway. This is the yarn I'm using to border, to border my granny square crochet blanket, but I actually ordered a couple more skeins. I got that yarn that I'm using for that one. I actually got that from America because I couldn't find the colourway here. But then, of course, it came into stock in a shop in the UK. So I actually ordered a couple of skeins from there as well. But it's a different dye lot number, obviously, and the shade is slightly different. So I'm using one of those for this. So this is Lunar Rock. And I'm holding it together with this one, which is a gorgeous speckled yarn from Kelly Lay, and it's called Shepherd's Delight. And it came with a mini, which I did think about using the mini for the border, but I don't think there'd be enough because by then it's going to be quite a big thing, and I'm not sure it would be enough. But that was the mini that came with it. Really pretty. But obviously I can always find a use for a mini. And it's got flecks of orangey browns and a little bit of purple on this kind of, it's certainly, I mean, you can see the difference in colour there. Slightly peachy, I suppose, base. So those two are being held together for the top section. The section I'm on right now, I'm holding two different ones together. The sort of solid colour is Malabrigo Sock, and that colourway is Sandbank. So Malabrigo Sock in Sandbank, and I'm holding that together with a yarn from Life in the Long Grass, which again is an Irish dyer. Life in the Long Grass.
What's that colourway called?
Well, does anybody want to pronounce that for me?
No, you tell us.
Lunaza. Do you pronounce the G and the H? I kind of think I don't want to pronounce the G. And Lugnaza sounds wrong. Lunaza.
That sounds right.
And I looked at what this means, and it's actually a Celtic festival that celebrates the start of autumn.
Cool.
And the colours are perfect for that. So these are the two that I'm holding for that middle section. So this one is the Malabrigo in Sandbank, and this one is the Life in the Long Grass. And you can see all those orange specks, and it's got green specks and some darker brown. And it's just lovely, and it's amazing how it knits up. I wasn't sure, I took ages deciding but I wasn't sure how it was going to knit up. I didn't know if the orange would be too dominant.
No.
But actually I don't think it is at all. I think the Malabrigo really softens it down and stops it being quite so in your face, those sort of orange pops.
Yeah.
And from a distance, if you think this is obviously going to be on your body, isn't it? So from a distance, I don't think it reads as... I think it just reads as two fairly, not solid, but two neutrals, I think it just
definitely
reads as, but with lots of interest going on with the tones and everything. So I really love it, and I'd highly recommend the pattern. It's written and charted. The only issue I've had so far, it's not really an issue, is that, I think you all know I kind of prefer to follow written instructions. So that's what I started doing with the lace. But I just was having real issues. I was losing my place all the time. And I think it's just, everybody writes in a different way, don't they? All designers write in a different way. And I was just having problems looking back and finding where I was. So I decided to try and work from the chart, and it's been plain sailing. Amazing. Absolutely plain sailing. And what I've been doing with the chart, and I'm sure a lot of you do this, I won't show the chart, but I'll just take this off. I've been using one of these little pieces of washi tape just to mark the row that I'm on, and then just move it up each time. And it stays sticky for quite some time, it stays plenty sticky enough, just to mark where you are, and just keep moving it up. And then once it loses its stick, you can just pull off another piece and, stick that on. And it doesn't damage your chart on the paper at all, because the washi tape, it's not actually very sticky, is it, on the back? So that's how I've been following it, and it's just been absolutely no problem. So, at the minute I'm just in that garter section. I'm just doing increases every other row and just simple. So it's very, very pleasant at the moment. And it's a triangle shape, as you can see, and I love the spine down the middle. Can you see that spine? I think it looks really pretty. So if you fancy doing that, if you've got plenty of fingering weight yarn in your stash, which lots of us have, haven't we, to be fair, all of these single skeins of yarn that we all buy, I think it's a brilliant use of that, because, you could double any yarns, couldn't you? You could have two speckles if you wanted to. But I thought by using these two sort of fairly solids with two speckles, it's just the best of both worlds for me, because it keeps it fairly... What did I say then?
No idea.
It's the best of both worlds, really, because it keeps it nice and neutral with these solids, but then adding the speckled yarns in adds all that interest and tones and texture, and just loving it. And I'm using my favourite higher bamboos, interchangeables, and I've just switched over to a 40-inch cable. I'll be able to get the rest of the shawl on a 40-inch. But I wanted to put it on that just so that I could stretch it out and show you nicely. So if you fancy casting one of those on and joining me, then please do, because it's a lovely, lovely design. And, hopefully I will have finished it by the time cooler weather comes, and it'll be perfect for autumn in these colours.
I shall love wearing it.
You're not having it. It's just going to be such a lovely, snuggly... It's just so soft as well. It's all merino, so it's lovely, and it's just really nice. And I'm just enjoying using what I would normally make socks out of, knitting something else with it. You know, it's really, really nice. All gorgeous yarns.
This is my...
It's similar colours, kind of. No, it's not.
Well, the colour is truffle. It's the King Cowl Merino Blend DK Anti-Tickle.
And I'm not sure it is anti-tickle.
No, I would disagree.
I'm not convinced about that.
They should take that off their ball bands, off their ball tickets.
It does have a bit of tooth about it. Nothing bad.
No.
But I certainly wouldn't call it anti-tickle.
It's my second sleeve.
I wish I had an anti-tickle.
Yes.
That would be fun.
It sounds like a Justin Fletcher character.
It does. I think there is a Mr. Tickle.
That's one of the Mr. Men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe
Mr. Nosy.
Maybe Mr. Tickle would have a sister, and then that would be anti-tickle to someone else, wouldn't it?
But who? Who's it anti to? We've just created a whole new character. Look, it's the second sleeve. No second sleeve syndrome for me. Oh no. And also no mess-ups for me in this sleeve.
No, you're doing brilliantly well. You knit loads on that yesterday. We watched 1917 yesterday.
For the second time. Of course, we reviewed it earlier on this year.
Yeah.
And it just came out and we thought, you know, we loved it so much in the cinema. You know, stand by everything we said in that review.
Yeah.
One of the best films we've ever seen. So we thought it's the type of thing we want to own. Because I tell you what, the other thing that dawned on me is we live in a world now where we're becoming ever more dependent on internet access. Well, what if, for some reason, the internet went off for a bit? How could you watch all your favourite films? So I'm now coming definitely from the angle of... And do you know, it frustrates me actually that you should, and I know in lots of parts of the world that this happens, but you should, on every DVD, Blu-ray, you know, whatever it is that you're buying, you should get the code so that you get the digital copy as well. Well, it just doesn't work like that in this country.
No, it doesn't.
Sometimes there might be a code there, but it's for some totally bananas odd service which is so difficult to access. And then also I collected codes off loads of videos, listen to me, collected codes, and then that company shut down, so we lost access to them anyway, so you're still left with your discs. So we thought we're going to buy 1917. We did. We watched it again yesterday. What a tremendous film.
Loved it. And do you know what? Bryony loved it as well. And we had a feeling that she would. And at first she was like, war film, not sure. But it's the story, you know, and it's the characters and the...
It's just brilliant. It's a work of art.
And she loved the way it was filmed as well with the continuous shot. She loved that. She thought that was fascinating.
So look, you know, cast this on, no problem, no twisty, oh no, because of course he's using DPNs. And then, just lovely, in a nice spine at the middle as you saw on the other one, but, you know, I messed up a few of the twists on the other one. Well, I haven't done that yet. I'm not going to. I know it's on the second round. I'm twisting on the second repeat.
Right.
So that should never change all the way up the sleeve. So I'd have to be a total fool to get this wrong. Wow. Look, I've thrown down the gauntlet now, haven't I? I'm nearly halfway through the increases, and I've got to say I do enjoy a good increase, especially interesting ones.
You enjoy a good
increase?
What's that?
That, darling, that's what's called a refuse truck.
But it's Wednesday.
It comes round and it picks up people's refuse.
It's Wednesday.
Yes. This is Garden Waste Day.
Oh, right.
Yes. And there is my broadcast for Darlington Borough Council. Now finished.
We do have a garden waste refuse collection, which is brilliant, isn't it? You do have to pay for that service, but...
Everybody's thrilled.
I think if...
They're thoroughly enjoying this.
Are you excited by that? I find it quite interesting.
So... thoroughly enjoying this actually, and really looking forward to getting through it so that we can then join it all in and then start knitting it as a yoke, which is what you do.
I know,
you join
I'd like to be wearing that, please, in the autumn.
Well, you will be, won't you?
Well, that's excellent.
What else is on your needles?
Look, I was doing a bit of knitting because you told me
First
to.
time.
Can't remember the last time I knit on the
Neither
show,
can
so
I.
that's cool, isn't it? I'm knitting Dan a pair of socks.
Thank you very much.
And this ball was wound in absolutely disastrously, but, you know, that was before my new ball winder. It should be BNB, before new ball winder, yes. Yeah. So I thought, right, okay, I needed another project to cast on, and those two that I've just shown you take a bit of thinking about, so let's just cast on something that's nice and simple for sort of, you know, when I'm tired knitting, which is often. So I thought, right, you always are in the need for short socks. You seem to wear your shorty socks more than any other, I would say, even when it's not really shorty sock weather, he's been wearing them. So I thought I'd cast on another pair. So I went stash diving, went looking through my kind of balls of Opal and Regia and things like that, because I've got quite a lot still, even though I've destashed this over the years, but I've still got quite a lot. And I chose this ball of Opal. Not sure what that range is. This one, I'll just show you the tag. I'm not going to try and pronounce that. And it's colourway 8737, and I believe it's Driftwood is the name of the colourway, but don't hold me to that. Someone told me it was Driftwood, and I love this colourway. I saw it knit up ages and ages ago. I thought, oh, I'm going to go looking for that, and I bought a skein, and of course then you never cast it on, do you? But I have now. And I'm knitting on double pointed needles.
Woohoo!
It's a long time since I've knit a sock on double pointed needles, and I finished a pair recently, which I'll show you in what's off my needles. And actually, when I started knitting those, it felt very strange, and I was like, oh, I'm knitting these, but I'll be glad to get back to my magic loop. Something happened when I was knitting the second of those socks, and all of a sudden I just was like, I'm loving this. I'm loving the DPNs. So as soon as I finished that pair, I thought, right, I'm going to cast on another pair of socks. I'm going to use DPNs, and I am still loving it. So this is the sock so far. It's a really nice colourway, and it's really, I think it's very unisex actually. I mean, I'm knitting these for Dan, and I think it's perfectly fine for a man. Why are you laughing? You are a man.
Yes, no, I agree with you completely. I would wear the most out there colours.
Well, that's true, he would. I mean, I always say to him, I'll say, is this colour too girly? And he's like, no. I think if I knit you pale pink and lemon socks, you would wear them.
Do you know what?
Would you not?
That might be a bridge too far.
A bridge too far.
If pale pink with something not lemon.
Right.
Even like a dark orange.
I kind of want pale pink and lemon socks now.
Well, have some.
I could, couldn't I?
Well, I'll knit some.
Yeah.
For you.
Well, it's okay.
What?
Nothing.
What's the problem?
You don't like knitting plain socks.
Well, why do they have to be plain?
Well, I suppose they don't have to.
I could do contrast heels and toes.
Okay.
There you go then.
Dan's going to knit me some pink and lemon socks.
Oh, that'd be fun. That'd be fun.
Well, when you knit, you said you wanted to knit the Fairywings, didn't you?
Absolutely want to knit the Fairywings.
That'd look beautiful in pink and lemon.
It's an absolute toss-up between the Fairywings and the amazing Village Fate Socks.
Oh, the Village Fate Socks.
Boom.
Oh, which I will just tell you. Yeah, so the Village Fate Socks, if you remember, that's the pattern that I launched on the 1st of May as part of the Flower Power Fund. Now, we're almost at the end of May, we're still going, so there is still time for you to purchase that pattern if you would like to make a donation within that purchase to Marie Curie, the Marie Curie Fund. I'm not going to tell you how much we've raised, actually. I was going to give you an update.
No, tell them next time.
I'm going to tell you next time
when you have the total.
When we've got to the end of May, but I'm absolutely over the moon with how much you've all raised so far. So we've still got a few days to go. That runs till the 31st of May. The pattern will always be there, but I'm just donating for the month of May.
I love that pattern.
So yeah, and
it's
a lot of you have
marvellous.
loved it as well, and I've seen lots of people knitting it up, so that's been brilliant. So if you would like to just add to that little bit of money that we're raising at the moment for Sarah and the Flower Power Fund and Marie Curie, then you can purchase it via Lovecrafts or Ravelry, and £2.50 from each pattern is donated. So I will tell you on the next episode how much we've raised, but I'm absolutely thrilled. So thank you all to everybody that's purchased that. So yeah, back to this sock. So this is where I'm up to so far. And this sock I'm knitting top down, as you can see, and it is going to be a shorty sock, but I'm actually going to pop in one of my umbrella afterthought heels. And that's going to be here where this marker is. So it's about a 4-inch leg, which I think seems to work for Dan for a shorty sock. And the afterthought heel will be here. And now I'm just carrying on. And I'll put in an umbrella toe at the bottom, and then I'll pop in heel afterwards. So it just makes perfect, this, the afterthought heel thing just makes perfect, easy knitting, I think, but you don't have to worry about the heel and the turn and the decreases and the pickup. You just knit and then you pop in your heel afterwards. This one is top down, and I am actually working on a top down design that incorporates the Afterthought umbrella heel. But yeah, that's what I thought I would do for this one, and it's just working out brilliantly well. And the DPNs I'm using, I like wooden DPNs, and these ones are, oh hang on, I can see. Well, I can't because I need to go to the opticians, which is not possible at the moment. What does that say?
Well, you're off your head.
Are you struggling?
You're bananas. My eyesight is fine.
I can't see anything at the moment. I'm doing
Do
this
you want the
whole
size?
thing. No, the brand. Is it higher?
Yeah, but
Right.
I mean, I really had to focus on that. So don't give yourself a hard time.
So I cannot wait to go to the opticians. That's another thing, isn't it? You know, before I'd be like, oh, got to go to the opticians. Now I'm like, I cannot wait to go. I'm going to get new glasses. I need a new prescription for my lenses. I'm going to do the whole works, and I cannot wait. So yes, these are higher bamboos. I love these DPNs. These are 2.5mm. They're quite flexible. And they have bent, you know, with usage. If I turn it like that, you can see. Doesn't bother me at all when I'm knitting. I think it's because when you're knitting, you're kind of flexing a little bit like that, and over time it's just bent a little bit. It's totally fine. Doesn't bother me at all. I've never broken any wooden DPNs while I've been knitting, but I know some people prefer metal because they tend to break wooden if you're a tighter knitter. But yeah, you for example. But I love wooden DPNs, and I love these pale coloured ones. Because again, it's the eyesight thing at the moment. I really struggle with darker coloured needles, especially if you're using a sort of slightly darker coloured yarn. Just can't manage it at the moment. So the lighter colour needles have just been brilliant, and I love working with these. And when I do knit a sock on DPNs, I hold the stitches on 4 needles and then knit with the 5th. But I know a lot of people only use...
I do that too.
That's because that's how I taught you. You don't know any other way.
I don't want to know any other way it works.
No, I mean, that's it, you know. A lot of people prefer holding your stitches on 3 and knitting with the 4th. I don't prefer that for a lot of reasons. It's mainly I can't deal with the uneven maths in my head.
Yeah.
You have to have an uneven number of stitches, don't you, on each needle, and that just, I can't. My brain's like, no, I need an even number on each needle, and then I know exactly where I am. But again, it's just one of those things where we're all a little bit different. But it's just really, really pleasant. And so I think I just did 12 rows of rib, because it's just a shorty sock. And then I've knit 30 rows on the leg, put in, you know, my markers for where my Afterthought heel's going to go, and now I can measure because I've got those markers. I can now measure from that point where my heel's going in until I know I'm at the right point to start the toe.
I was looking at that and I'm thinking, that's not a shorty sock.
No, it's because they go there.
I've realised that.
That's where the heel will be.
That looks like a leg on a normal sock.
I know, yeah. I think I do. I've been looking at my gauge, and I think I am a little bit looser, I think, on DPNs as opposed to Magic Loop. But I've measured my gauge, and I'm getting 8 stitches to the inch on 2.5mm needles. So that's usually pretty much what I would get anyway on 2.5mm. I usually get around 8 on 2.5mm and around 9 stitches per inch on 2.25. It's lovely, and it's just very pleasant knitting, you know, when I just need to knit something but I can't or don't have the brain power for patterns.
Now then, ladies and gentlemen, this young lady spends a huge amount of time talking about yarn, and an even greater amount of time searching for that perfect colourway. So we thought it was about time she stopped searching and started showing us exactly what does it take to put together the perfect colourway. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the first of probably many Bakery Bear specials, because we have another one planned on a completely different subject. It's not this, but later on in the year. Oh yes, we do. Oh,
I don't remember. I'm sorry.
Welcome to the Bakery Bears with Dan and Dory. Dan Dory.
You've said that before.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's all right, I'm old.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is my favourite colourways with Kay Jones.
Over the last 6 years, I have created more colourways than I can remember. Hidden away in my library is the little book that contains nearly all my secrets. But which do I like best? Well, I thought it would be fun to find out, so in this show, that's what we're going to be doing. I'll be taking you from undyed skein to finished colourway, because it's time for us to discover Welcome everybody to my favourite colourways. So what we're going to be doing today is I'm going to show you everything you're going to need to dye up some yarn. I'm going to take you through the whole process from, your dry skein of undyed yarn right through to me twisting up the finished skein of yarn and having it there ready to knit. One of the best things for me that's come out of the kind of dyeing process and just teaching myself to dye is that I know that even if I can't find that perfect colourway for a design, for example, I know that I can actually dye it myself. So it's a brilliant skill to have. And it might be that even if you're not a designer or have any of those kinds of aspirations, it could be that you've just, maybe you want to knit a special pair of socks for someone for Christmas and you want to maybe use their favourite colour and you just can't find that perfect colour. Then you can hit the dye pots and dye them up something that's just for them, and that makes then the gift even more special, doesn't it? Because you've also dyed the yarn as well as knit the gift for them. Now you will have seen just briefly a little shot of my dye books. These are my original dye books that I've used all the way through my kind of dyeing, from the very beginning to the most recent, and I've spent the last few days just going through these, and it's really interesting because I started off with one of the very first colourways I dyed was Chatsworth Gold. I don't know if anybody out there has still got any skeins of Chatsworth Gold, but that was a beautiful colour. And then I went on and I think I did, Quirrell's Secret was another one. That was one of my first ones. And when I first started, I kind of measured out the dyes in a different way. I did it very scientifically. I weighed the dye powder, and I have a little set of scales that I used. But I sort of rapidly found out that was very time consuming, and also really I felt it was kind of unnecessary because I could just use little tiny scientific measuring spoons, and I think that's probably what a lot of dyers do. So I kind of moved on to that. But this was the first dye book, Let's Go on an Adventure. I found this in a shop and I thought that was quite suitable because it was an adventure. And then I moved on to this one with the lovely bees on, and these are a complete mess, I'll be honest. When I was looking through these, I was doing one here and I couldn't even remember what this stood for, but you can see I've done it here and I've crossed it out, and I think I had 6 attempts. Look, another 2 pages crossed out, didn't like that, and then finally I wrote this one. I couldn't for the life of me remember what I just put what's it called where you put just letters, but I'd put MOTOE, and I'm like, what on earth is that? It took me about 5 minutes to realise it was Murder on the Orient Express. So it's obviously when I was watching that film, the Kenneth Branagh one, marvellous, and I was trying to come up with a colourway, and it took me 6 attempts to get one that I liked. I then moved on to this book because I decided that what I wanted to do was have a book, because these ones were full of everything I'd ever done, and a lot of those turned out to just be one of a kinds because it wasn't quite what I was after for that particular theme or for whatever reason really. I thought I'll have another book and I'll just put into this all of the colours that I really love and that I might want to dye again. So I started to do that, and I've got all kinds of colourways in here. Easter Sprinkles, Hobbitland, White Christmas, Fairy Dust. But the one I've decided on for today is called Fairywings. Now I didn't dye a huge amount of this, so there might be some of you out there that have got a skein or 2 of this. But this colourway it's a really interesting one to dye. I wanted to choose one that, you know, wasn't just a straightforward tonal, or, I mean, I didn't really do many of those, to be fair. I did lots of variegated, but I just wanted to choose one that I thought would be really interesting for you to see the process of. It is a variegator, but not in the sense of, you know, your typical variegated where you get sort of sections of all different colours. It's not like that. It's kind of more like a watercolour effect. And I did a few colourways with this method and I absolutely love it. It's a layering method and it produces a colourway that's got a lot of depth and it's really interesting. And when you knit it up, it's just beautiful to knit up. So, shall we have a look at everything that we're going to need to dye our lovely yarn? So, first of all, we're going to need yarn. That might sound a bit obvious, but yes, we're going to need some yarn. What we're actually going to dye today is 2 skeins. I've got 2 skeins of fingering weight yarn. So what I've done with the skeins, as you can see, I've attached some cable ties. Now you don't have to use these plastic cable ties. You can just use a piece of cotton yarn or anything really. But what I've done this for is so that we can manoeuvre the skeins in the pots and we can take them out easily and then easy to hang to dry. So these are just the plastic removable cable ties. They just slip on and off and I've just popped them over the skeins like that. And I'm also just popping in an extra little mini skein just as a little treat for me. We're going to need some pots to dye in. I always use this type of a pot. I don't use the kind of big trays that some people use. I much prefer a pot. So you're going to need some kind of pot to cook your yarn in, and it should be stainless steel. And with everything that we're going to use for our dyeing, you shouldn't use it with anything else apart from dyeing. So once you've used it to dye yarn in, you only use that pot to dye yarn in. You should never sort of cook in it or anything like that. And that goes with all of the utensils and measuring things and everything else that we use. It should only be used for your dyeing. So that's our pot. We're then going to need something to soak the yarn in, to pre-soak it and to sort of rinse it afterwards. A washing up bowl is absolutely perfect. A pair of rubber gloves, just whatever rubber gloves you want to use. Again, only use them for your dyeing. I've just got some old tea towels here. I use them to just protect my work surfaces because I'm dyeing in the kitchen. I just spread these out so that I can lay all my dyes and everything on them to stop any dye powder getting on my work surfaces. Then I've just got one measuring spoon here because this is the size I'm going to use, but I think these are classed as kind of like scientific measuring spoons, but you can get them very easily on Amazon and they usually come in a pack. I use a lovely big spoon. It's my dyeing spoon for all kinds of things, whirling your dye around, sort of pushing your skeins down, all kinds of things. It's invaluable. And again, we're not going to use any of this equipment with anything other than dyeing. We're going to need citric acid. Citric acid is our mordant, and the mordant is the thing that makes the dye permanently adhere to the yarn. So I use citric acid because I find it much more convenient than using vinegar, for example. Don't like vinegar. I have used it before, but it's smelly and don't like it. So citric acid is a food grade product. It's the one that they put into fizzy sweets, so it's perfectly safe. And then our dyes. Whatever dyes you want to use, I use acid dyes. So I've got a range really. I use Dharma. I think this is a US product, and I think at the moment you can only get it from the US. Certainly when I was buying this, you have to buy it from the US. I've got Jacquard. I've got all of the colours of this. It's very easily obtainable in this country. So I've got Jacquard, and then Landscapes dyes. This is an Australian dye, I believe. I love this one. It's one of my favourite types of dye. It comes in a granular form rather than a powder, and I find that really brilliant for speckles. And then the last thing is a mask. Of course, dye powders, we can inhale them really easily. Don't want to do that. Must use a face mask. So I use one of these 3M masks. So whenever you've got your powders going on, you must use your mask. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is we need to pre-soak our yarn. So into my bowl, I'm going to put in some citric acid, because what we do is we pre-soak the yarn with acid in it, and that allows the yarn then to absorb the water with the acid in there, so it gets a nice soaking. Now I've got 2 skeins of yarn here, so I'm going to put in, these are tablespoon measures, so I'm going to put in, I don't know, 1.5 tablespoons. I don't know what the kind of scientific proportions are for yarn to citric acid, but I tend to go with about 1 tablespoon for 2 skeins of yarn. That might be overkill, but I'd rather it get a nice soaking with the acid than there's not enough in there. So now I'm going to sort of half fill this bowl with some nice warm water just from the tap. Take your skeins, and I've just got that added in mini skein here, and we're just going to pop them in. Now they'll want to just float on the surface like that, because that's what wool is like. It's very water resistant. That's just one of the natural sort of properties of wool. You're going to have to push it down, so just give that a nice push down and just hold it down to let it just start absorbing the water, and then you'll see it'll stay down. So I just kind of push it down, keeping hold of the rings or the ties, whatever you've got there, and make sure that it's all underneath the water. And then we're just going to let this soak for, minimum, I would say half an hour, because we're using nice warm water. I find that using warm water as opposed to cold, it does absorb more quickly, I find, into the yarn. So a good half hour really to get that citric acid nice and soaked in. Right, so our yarn has been soaking away and we're now ready to start the dyeing. Very exciting. So the first thing to do is to get your pot, and mine is filled about 3/4 with warm water, and then I'm going to add some more citric acid. I'm going to put in about another tablespoon into the dye pot. So we've got our pot, we've got the citric acid in it, and we've put the heat on to the pot, so it's now heating up nicely. So into that pot I'm going to put 2 dye colours. So this is the first stage of the dyeing process. I'm going to put in a sort of silvery grey colour and a peachy sort of colour. They're going to go in together into the pot, and we're going to mix them and make sure that it's really mixed in. We don't want any sort of clumps of dye powder. Okay, so I've got my first 2 dye colours in the pot, and it's just coming up to temperature now. It doesn't want to be a rolling boil or anything like that. For a dye to set, you want to really get it to that simmering point, and then just sort of let it cook away at that simmering point for a little while. I mean, it's really, I just do it until all of the dye's exhausted, until you've made sure that the yarn is at that temperature when you know that the dye is going to fix into the yarn. I don't like cooking it for a very long time, because I feel like that can damage the fibres. As long as it's up to the right temperature and all of the dye has been absorbed in, then that's the stage that I sort of stop the dyeing process. So this is just heating up at the moment. The water is hot, but it's not boiling hot, and that's perfectly fine. So I've kind of drained my yarn here. It's still really soaking wet, so I just sort of pull out some of that moisture. And then before I put it in, I just give the yarn a little wiggle just to loosen it up a bit. I don't want it a solid mass. I want those strands to be sort of a little bit free. So now I'm going to pop it into the pot, and then you'll kind of see what I do. I'm going to move it around in there. So we grab hold of it here. I'm going to do this quite quickly because I want that dye colour to disperse all the way through the skein. So it's going to go in. I'm going to get my spoon, push it down, and then I'm quickly going to pick it up and I'm going to change the orientation of the skein. So you just grab that and move the skein. This is what's going to stop your yarn from pooling in any way. So again, I mean, I've got gloves on, so I tend to just stick my hand in the pot and just make sure then that all of the yarn is having a nice little swim around in there. And you can see it's almost exhausted already. So I'm just going to give that a minute or two just to let the colour fully exhaust. And that just means that the water will be clear. So we know all of the dye has gone into our yarn. So I'm just going to let that simmer away for a couple of minutes. That's fully exhausted. You can see that the water is now clear. So what I'm going to do is just pull off, just run that through and pop it quickly back into the bowl because it will be hot. So the next colour I'm adding in is a pink. Okay, so we've got the next colour in. Now before I put the yarn back in, I've got it here in my bowl, you can see it's steaming away. I'm just going to move the skeins again. So what I'm going to do is just grab your yarn like that and just move it. Just change the orientation so that the same section is not going into the pot first, because the bit that goes into the pot first is going to get the most dye. And if we keep that the same each time we put in the different colours, then you're going to get one section that's really saturated with colour and not very much in the rest, and it will be more inclined to pool as well if we do that. So I've changed the sort of location, if you like, of the sort of what goes into the pot first. And now I'm going to put it back into that pink. So again, it goes in quickly into the pink, and then once again I'll just move it a little bit just so that I know that different parts of the skein are getting different amounts of dye, and that's what's going to make it lovely and variegated. And you can see that's exhausted already, and can you see now we've got different shades of pink. I hope that's coming up on the camera. We've got the pink, the pale pink we've just put in, and then we've got this more kind of grubby sort of looking pink, which is what we started with. So again, just give that a minute or two in the pot, in the hot water, just to make sure we've fully exhausted all of that colour, and then I'm going to take it out once again and back into our bowl. So that's the second layer of colour onto the yarn, and we're going to repeat this process. I've got 3 more colours to add on. So the next colour is a really hot pink, but we're not going to use very much of that, just a little bit. And then we've got a purple shade, and then we're going to finish with the sort of golden shade. So the next one, like I said, to go in is going to be a hot pink, just a little bit of that because it really is a bright pink. Now this particular colour, this hot pink, I'm not going to let it fully exhaust. I'm going to leave a bit in the pot and then add the next colour on top of it. So I'm adding even more of a further dimension because I'm actually making my own colour effectively when I do that. So I'm going to leave a little bit of the colour. You can see there's still a bit of the pink in there. So I'm going to take out the yarn and then add in the next colour, which is a purple. So now with that colour in, I'm just going to let that one fully exhaust. So at the moment you can see the colour we've got. I mean, it's really, really beautiful colour, but it's lots of different shades of pink sort of shades really, with sort of a hint of purple running through, all different sort of layers of those shades. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add in a gold colour, and that just transforms it, all of the shades that we've already put in, and it turns it into more sort of peachy tones. It's really gorgeous. I do this with a few colourways actually, adding gold at the end, and it just completely changes the colour, and I love it when that happens. It becomes something completely different. Add in that gold, and then that'll be the last colour. Can you see now it's completely changed colour? We've got lots of orange tones and golds, peachy shades. For this last colour, I'm not going to move the skeins around because I want some of it to maintain some of that pink. So I'm just going to leave it as it is like that. And I'm going to turn the heat up just a little bit until it comes to simmering point. Once it starts to simmer, I know that I'm at the right temperature. I'm going to turn the heat off. I'm going to pop it outside on my garden table and just let the pot go completely cold. We're now at the stage where our yarn is dyed. It's now sat outside in its pot, and we just need to let it cool down. It doesn't have to be completely cold. You know, once it's gone off that optimum temperature, and it's just kind of warm, it's not going to absorb any more dyes or anything like that. I mean, once your dye pot is completely clear, which to be honest it already is clear, but I will just leave it for probably at least half an hour preferably, and then you know that it's going to come off that temperature, and then it'll be absolutely fine for the next stage. So there we go. Join me in part 2 when we're going to rinse that yarn. We're going to give it a little wash, we're going to hang it to dry, and then at the end of part 2 you will see the finished skein all twisted up, looking beautiful and ready to be knit.
Wow! Oh my goodness, I'd no idea how much effort it takes to make a perfect colourway.
Yeah, I mean, there's different methods. There's so many different methods, and I did take a long time deciding which one to dye, because it's not only about the colourway, it's about the method as well, and what really would be the most interesting, I suppose, to watch.
And weren't those dye books actually marvellous?
Yeah.
Speaking of,
it's really interesting going back through those. Yeah. It's really interesting. And one of the lessons I learned is that no matter whether you're convinced you'll remember the dye technique and what you did and the colours, you won't. So I always wrote down everything, even if it was colours that didn't work out. I would have still written it down, you know, and then if it didn't work out, I'd put a score through it and write something on top of it saying I didn't like it or whatever, you know, for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But just write everything down.
And to think, actually, the best part is still to come, because it's that final flourish bit that even if you're not, you know, tempted by having a go at dyeing, it's that final sort of preparation bit that I think all of us, certainly I did filming it, anyone who knits, you're gonna get something from seeing how to, you know, properly present a skein of yarn.
For me, the presentation of a skein of yarn was really important, and I wanted it to look lovely when you open that yarn up. I just want it to look lovely, and I've bought skeins of yarn before where that hasn't really been the case, you know, or I don't know. I like the detail, and I like to make something look the best it possibly can look.
And I think, you know, if you buy. You've bought yourself a skein of yarn, it's arrived, and you don't think it looks that great. If you can then sort it out, make it look lovely, put it in your stash, when you then come to knit with it, you'll be inspired because it looks so nice, rather than being disappointed that, oh my goodness, I paid 20 quid for that.
That's a bit harsh. But, you know...
We've all been there, Kay.
Some skeins are presented more prettily than others, aren't they? And you can make that skein look as pretty as you want just by doing a couple of quick things.
So make sure you come back later in the show and you'll find out all about that and so much more. Because, Neil, it's time for us to find out. Kay Jones, what's off your needles?
I've got 3 things off my needles.
Amazing.
That's very exciting, isn't it?
Yes.
I've got 2 pairs of socks and something else. So I didn't want to say because it's surprise.
Fine. That's really fun.
So
I don't know what it is, the third thing. No idea.
The first thing is I finished a pair of Christmas socks because why not? That's what I say.
They don't look like Christmas socks.
No, they don't particularly, but they are. But if you want to knit Christmas socks in May, it's almost June. We're nearly halfway through the year, aren't we? So you get knitting those Christmas socks. And I just wanted to knit these, so I finished them. So it's this pair of lovely socks. Oh, aren't they nice?
Is that the Rhapsody?
It's the Rhapsody pattern with it, but I've put in an afterthought heel.
Oh, it's lovely.
So, yeah, this is the London House Yarns, and it's in Merry Christmas Harry. Yeah, it's not Happy Christmas Harry, it's Merry Christmas Harry. Self-striping, as you can see, and it came with a mini of this kind of... What colour is that? Creamy sort of colour.
Do you remember Harold Lloyd?
I used to watch Harold Lloyd.
So did I. Isn't that funny?
Hooray for Harold Lloyd. I used to watch that.
It's funny because it was like... It was huge.
Yeah.
Like it was on every morning. Well, weekend mornings.
It was, yeah.
It was on weekend mornings.
In
I
the
used to watch
80s it'd be, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, it's from the 20s, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was black and white. Donkeys used
Why is it now he's just not spoken of? You know, it's all Charlie Chaplin and, you know, it's other people. It's funny.
I always used to watch Harold Lloyd. Yeah, I used to love it. Why did you say that? It's a bit random.
Merry Christmas, Harry.
What's that got to do with Harold Lloyd?
Harold.
Yeah, but it's Harry, not Harold.
Yeah, I know that. Do you think...
Harold is a different name to Harry, isn't it? And Harry's like a nickname, isn't it, of Henry? But I'm presuming people who are called Harold also get called Harry.
Because that is more logical than calling someone called Henry Harry.
But I can't imagine King Harold got called Harry. Wasn't there a King Harold?
Harold Hardrada?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I doubt that too back then.
No.
That's a long time ago.
But it might be that some people who are called Harold never get called Harry.
If I was
some people
called
who
Harold,
are called Henry get called Harry. And some people are just called Harry, and that's their baptised
we need to find out.
name, isn't it?
Harry Carpenter looks like a Harold to me.
You think his name is Harold?
I don't know. But he could be a Henry equally.
It could be a Henry.
Yeah. Or maybe he's just Harry. What about Harry Seacombe? Or Harold?
He could be a Harold, couldn't he?
He doesn't look like a Henry to me.
No, he doesn't really look like a Henry.
Oh, fascinating stuff.
Who knew that we were going to have a conversation about that when I showed you these
I want
socks?
to know. Does anyone out there, someone out there will know, have you a relative called Harold who's called Harry?
Or do you have a relative that's called Henry that you call Harry?
Oh, well, I guarantee you there will be people
We've
who
got
have that.
We've got a nephew called Harry, and his name is just Harry. You know, that's what that's his birth name.
But when he was younger, I used to wind him up and call him Harold.
You did, but that's not his
No.
baptised name.
No, it isn't.
No.
Back
to my socks. So these are knit top down. I put in my Rhapsody socks pattern, but I added in an afterthought heel, the umbrella afterthought heel. The reason I did it on these socks is I wanted to try it out on a cuff down sock, just to see how it worked and figuring out the maths for, length of foot and things like that. And it worked perfectly, and they fit like an absolute dream. They fit brilliantly well. So, like I said, I am designing a sock at the moment which is top down and incorporates my afterthought heel, because it's just brilliant. And I love knitting that heel now, and it's just it has really transformed my sock knitting world, because now I feel like there's no barriers to anything, you know. If I fancy...
Nothing's going to stop you now.
No. If I want to just knit straight down like that sock I'm knitting for Dan, you know, if I just want something plain and simple, I can just cast on, I can just knit, and I can worry about the heel afterwards. You know, if I fancy doing a toe up, I can do that. If I want to do a traditional heel flap and gusset, I can do that. You know, it's brilliant. I'm really, really pleased. And I know a lot of you out there love that heel as well. So thank you for all the positive feedback I've had on the umbrella socks. It's just been great. So these are all finished, and I think it's a gorgeous colourway. I think they look fantastic. And I matched them really well. I mean, look down to the little bit of grey on both ends of the toes. So I'm pleased that I matched them really well. I think it worked out. If you look at that, that's pretty good, isn't it? So that's one pair of socks done. Thank you. And they will be going into this sort of Christmas sock pile. Lovely. And then the second pair of socks I've finished is the pair that I designed for the second course of the Knitting University.
Which commences on the 2nd of June.
Tuesday.
Oh, yes.
Next Tuesday it starts, that one. So these are all finished now. And these are the Oakworth socks. It's a shorty pair of socks. And they've got, it's top down, heel flap with a garter-edged heel. So I'll show you exactly how to pick up from that. And then this one's got a square heel turn and my cottage toe on this. So lots of different aspects from the first sock course. And these I knit on double pointed needles. So the first course was on magic loop. This one is on double points. So again, it's a great way of getting familiar with both methods and having a lovely pair of socks when you've sort of worked through that. And then you can decide which method you might prefer. I know a lot of people these days knit socks on the tiny 9-inch. Are they 9-inch? Circulars. I have tried those once and they're just not for me, I'm afraid. It's
too small.
It's too small, and I know a lot of people do enjoy it.
Go for it.
Yeah, absolutely go for it, but it's just not a method that I will honestly, I have, like I say, I've tried it and I was just like, whoa, this is not for me. And the yarn I used for these, it was a dandelion and dogwood yarn, and it's in the October Unicorn colourway. It did do a swirly thing. Can you see there are bands of colour? There's like a band where you've got those browny taupey colours and then a band where you've got the pinks and the purples. I don't mind it too much, but it's not my ideal when it comes to speckled yarns. I prefer a yarn where you've just got speckles all through of all the different colours. I'm not mad on the sort of swirly thing. But I think because the cuttles, what are cuttles?
Fish.
Because the colours are quite subtle.
They're weird.
Can you see what I did?
Yes.
I got colours and subtle.
Yes.
Combined.
Yes. It's like the whole Adam Lambert thing all over again, isn't it?
Don't start that.
Alan Butler.
Because the colours are quite subtle, I don't think it's quite so noticeable. And they're very pretty colours. And this sock's got a garter band running down both sides at the front of the sock. So it's like train tracks, and that's where the name Oakworth came from, because that's the name of the station in the book and film Railway Children. I don't know whether it's got Oakworth as the name of the station in the book, actually, because I've not read the book, but it's in the film. So that's those finished. Like Dan said, that course will be starting on Tuesday.
And running throughout June.
Yeah, throughout June. And I'm then going to be doing a third course. That'll be the sort of final course for this year. And that one is a hat. I showed you the start of it last time, I think. And I have now completed that hat. And so I'm all ready to start the third course. And once we get into that, I'll show you that hat that will be for the third course.
Excellent.
So that's all those all finished. And I knit these on 2.5mm, the same needles I'm knitting Dan's on now, actually, those higher bamboo. The only reason I knit these on 2.5 instead of 2.25 is that when I'm filming tutorials, just having that slightly bigger needle just makes things a bit clearer. So within the pattern it will say basically just, you use the size of needle that you normally use when you're knitting socks. But I think, to be honest, for me, I mean, I will happily wear these. They're just not as negative easy on your foot. And a lot of people don't like that negative ease. Some people do, some people don't. Again, it's a personal choice. But you still get a perfectly wearable pair of socks. So even if you don't want to wear them in shoes, you might just wear them as house socks instead. The last thing is I finished my Raindrops on Roses cowl.
Wow.
This is a platinum pattern, and this goes out to all of the qualifying patrons on the 1st of June. So that's Monday. This goes out on Monday. Gosh, we've got a lot going on next week, haven't we? That's exciting. And it's, oh, I love this. I love it. So it's all finished and blocked, and I think it just looks gorgeous. So you saw this almost finished. It just wasn't quite, but it's finished now, and it's washed and blocked, and I took the loveliest photos, actually. They were just gorgeous. I'll pop it on. You know, it's the perfect, for me, it's just the perfect cowl, you know, to pop around. There's nothing I don't love about it. It's perfect. You know, you pop it on, it keeps your neck lovely and cosy. You don't have to fuss, and it's just gorgeous. I just love those big eyelets. I think they're lovely. So that's the Raindrops on Roses. It's a fingering weight cowl. You need that main colour, the sort of Raindrops yarn, and then you can use mini skeins, or you can use leftovers for the actual sort of roses colour. And, you know, you could do it if you wanted your roses to be, you know, vibrant reds and, you know, that kind of almost orangey red and purples and deep colours. You could do that. You know, maybe have a lighter colour for your raindrops. There's lots of variations. So get gathering all of your minis. Find yourself.
Well, you could do green, couldn't you? Here for the leaves on the rose.
Well, you could. Well, you could do green. Bright. Yeah, you could do green if you wanted to. You could do what I've done and just do speckles that sort of.
Oh, it's fun.
That have lots of. You know, that one's got greens in particular. Just lovely, and I love knitting it and I love designing it, and I hope you all really enjoy it when you get that on Monday. How exciting!
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to return for the second part of our first ever Bakery Bear special. Oh yes, so let's get back and see how Kay finishes off her favourite colourway.
Welcome back, everybody, to part 2 of my favourite colourways. So we've dyed up our angel wings, and it has been sat outside now and it's cooled down, so we're all ready for the next stage. So the first thing we need to do is rinse it. What I'm going to do first of all is just pop it into just some plain water, and what this is going to do is we are going to rinse out all of that citric acid. We want the acid to be completely gone from the yarn. Pop it straight into your clean bowl of water and give this a good sort of swish around. We want to make sure we get rid of all of that citric acid. It's a real workout, but you know, it's great fun to do a little bit. And look at that, I hope these colours are showing up here. Isn't that just beautiful, all of the tones? And the reason we've got all of those tones is because of that layering technique that we did. So you can see with the rinse here, there's not a speck of dye in the water here. It's completely clear. That's what we want, because we know that we've fully exhausted the dye. We know that it's completely set to the yarn because we're getting no bleeding whatsoever. So that's had a nice rinse now. All of that citric acid will be out of it. And you could just leave it at that, you know, and say that's it, you know, technically we're done. I actually like to give it another rinse, and at this stage you can add in, do you know, things like Eucalan or soak, but they're very expensive. I'll be honest, I find them really expensive, and when you're dyeing a lot of yarn, I think it's just cost prohibitive to use that. So all I do, because at the end of the day, this yarn, when it's knitted into something, More likely with me it'll be socks. Those socks are going to go in the washing machine. And they'll go in the washing machine at 30 degrees, and I'm going to use my mild washing detergent, and there'll be a fabric softener in there as well. So that's the treatment that they're going to get when it's actually a finished knitted item. So all I do with that second rinse is I just add in a little tiny bit of a very gentle fabric softener. I don't use any kind of biological or anything like that. I like the really mild and gentle washing products. So that's the first rinse. So I'm just going to take that out and I'm just going to pop it over here on my drainer for a second. Get rid of that water, which is lovely and clear, so we're very happy to put that down our drain. There's no dye in that whatsoever. And then I'm going to fill up my bowl again. The water is sort of tepid. You don't want it freezing. And as that's running in, I'm just going to add in a tiny bit of fabric softener. There we go. And then grab our yarn again and pop that in. And I just kind of let it hang out there for a bit. And then we're going to take it out of here and it'll be ready for hanging up to dry. Okay, so it's a few hours later on a very warm, don't approve of the warmth, but it's been good for us for this, for this reason. Very warm and sunny day, so my yarn is dry. So here's my 2 skeins. This is my little mini skein that I've already wound up, so that's a little treat for me. It's like a kind of chef's treat, isn't it? Except it's a dyer's treat. So that's my little mini skein, even though I'm going to be keeping one of these full skeins anyway. Here we go, we've got the 2 skeins all lovely and dry, but can you see how they look a bit messy? Should we say messy? They are a little bit messy in the skein because, they've been in and out of that dye pot, they've been over the washing line. So what we're going to do is we're just going to tidy up the skein and just get it ready for winding up. So it's still got the little cable ties on, so I'm just going to choose one of them. Pop the other one down there. So I'm going to take off the cable tie first of all, and these are the ones where you just push a little, it's not a button, it's just a bit of plastic that kind of pushes down. Just push it and it comes off. So the first thing that I do is I kind of take the skein and just check that it hasn't got twisted, because sometimes it can fold over on itself like that. So I'm just going to hold it on my arm and just go all the way around and make sure it's not twisted. And that's all fine. And then we're going to give it a little kind of thwack, I suppose. And what this does is it just evens up those strands, because sometimes, you might have a strand of yarn that's got pulled and it's not even, it's come out of that kind of even loop. Give it a little thwack all the way around. You might also find sometimes, I find this with skeins, that you can sometimes have this randomly loose strand that no matter what you do, it's still loose. And if you get that, this one doesn't look too bad. If you get that, if you just find the loose strand and sort of work it back, you usually find that it's attached to the main tie and you can kind of pull in the slack and tighten it. Now, usually you'll have 3 sort of ties around it. You've got the main one, which is keeping the ends together, the 2 ends, and then you've got 2 other ties which have been keeping the yarn nice and organised, they sort of weave in and out. What I like to do is I actually remove one of those other 2 ties here, because I don't find that when it's in the skein, I don't really find that it needs all 3 of them, and sometimes it can make this sort of twisted skein look a little bit messy. So I find the one that's actually got the yarn ends, because obviously we need to leave that one, and that's this one here. You can tell it's that one because there's 4 strands of yarn coming off from it. So that's the one we need to keep, and I usually try to put that at the top of the skein where there's the kind of knot, if you like. And then I have a look which of those other 2 is nearest to my other hand, and in this case it's this one here. So I'm going to remove that other one there. So just take your scissors, find the tie and just cut that off. All this is not strictly necessary, but I just like to present the skein as neatly as I can. That's that one removed, so we've now just got those 2 ties. So the final thing I like to do to tidy it up is I'll find the tie. Here's the first one, and it's very loose, and the reason that it's very loose is that actually that's a beneficial thing when we're dyeing it, because we don't want it, if I pull it tight, we don't want it to be tight like this when we dye the yarn, because what happens is you'll get a line where the dye has not been able to get underneath that tie. So it does want to be nice and loose while we're dyeing it, but once it's dyed, what I like to do is just tighten it up a little bit. Can you see there's lots of yarn here? So I just go in and I just tie a knot further down, like that. There's the knot now. And then I cut off the rest, and that again just makes it neater in the skein. You don't get that kind of, you don't see those ties as much. So that's that one, and then I just go to the other one, which is the one that's holding the skein together. And again, what I'm going to do is just tie this tie a bit further down. There we go. So that we don't need all of that yarn when it's in the skein. I want it to look as neat as possible. There we go. So now you can see we've got a skein of yarn that looks much neater than when we started, and we can now twist it. So I try and have one tie on this hand, one tie on this hand, and then that means that you won't see those ties through the length of the skein. It'll look as pretty as possible. And then what I'm going to do is pop it over my 2 forefingers, and I'm going to keep my, I have to think about how I do this, because you do it automatically, but keep this one stable, and I'm going to twist with this one. And I usually, for a skein, it depends really on which skein, because some of them need more twists than others, but you can kind of tell when you get to that stage. So I'll count the twists. It's usually between sort of 8 and 10 depending on what skein of yarn you've got. So 1, 2, 3, and as I'm doing it I'm kind of pulling like that. 4, 5, 6, 7, and it's getting tight, but keep going. 8, 9, that's probably about right. I'm going to do one more. 10, and you can see now it's full of like really tight twists. So some people do this now and then pull it down. I've never been able to do that. What I actually do is I put it under my foot and do it that way, so you're not be able to see what I'm doing, but basically I just pop it under my foot, pull the 2 ends together, and then I've got this, and then you twist with your finger the opposite direction and just give it a nice little pull, and we've got a beautiful skein. And then at the top here we've now got the 2 ends on my 2 forefingers again. Put one finger through that end of the loop and then grab the other end, pull it through, and there we go. We've got an absolutely beautiful skein of yarn. It's gorgeous. I'm really pleased with it. So there we go. We've finished our beautiful yarn, and here it is. We've got the 2 gorgeous skeins, and I've got my little dyer's treat of a mini skein, which is lovely. But our 2 gorgeous skeins I'm really pleased with, and it does look like the colour that I remember. You know, it's a long time since I dyed this colour. But luckily, it does look like exactly like I remember. It's so pretty. It's got so much depth to it. You've got those pinks in there, and then this orange is more of a kind of. It's a very warm orange because we didn't actually put any orange in there. If you remember, there was no orange colourway. There was no orange dye, but that gold dye that we put on at the end. It just changes all of the colours of all of the dyes that we've put in previously. And you wouldn't believe that we've got purple in here either. But what the purple does is it gives a lot of depth to the colours. You know, you get that kind of very dusky look to some of the shades, and that's the purple that's doing that. So that's our lovely fairy wings. Now, I've got 2 skeins here. I only really need one. So the other one I thought I would use as a prize for a knit-along, and a future knit-along that we do on the podcast. So one of these could be yours. It's an 80-20 fingering weight, so perfect for socks. And actually, what I might do, I might cast on a pair of socks with my skein so that I've got it to show you on the podcast. That might be fun, might it? If I can think, I don't want to do just a plain sock, so if I can come up with something that would be nice for this colourway. So that is definitely my favourite colourway. Or is it? Maybe I'll be back another time to show you a different one. So I hope you enjoyed that, and who knows, you might see me back soon.
Well, what a lovely show you have created. And as she said there at the end, who knows? Maybe you'll see her again.
Maybe
back to
will.
Share another of her favourite colourways. Neil, if that has whetted your appetite for yarn dyeing, we actually have a series where you actually do speckled, you do tonal, you do an awful lot actually. It's a 5-part series.
Really? Was it?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a 5-part series all about yarn dyeing, and you can find a link to that in the show notes and also there on the screen as well.
I hope you enjoyed it. I hope we've, gave you a bit of an insight into what goes on.
It's a bit like, any interest that you've got, like Kay and I now share a love of American football.
I've got a cool jacket.
Yeah, I'm super
it.
jealous actually.
It's like it's not a big heavy jacket, is it? It's like a sort of tracksuit top type jacket, isn't it? With a hood.
It's called dry fit.
Yeah,
that's what
Nike,
the material's called.
It?
Yes, it's Nike dry fit. It's the best gear just ever for running in or doing anything remotely athletic in.
It's really lightweight, but it's really warm and soft on the inside, and it's an Arizona Cardinals.
But it's not like full-on garish.
No, it's just got a cardinal here.
It doesn't shout at you.
It's just got a cardinal here, and it's like that red colour that Arizona wear.
Yeah, it's really cool.
It's really cool. Yeah, it's really cool.
So we now share a love for American football, and we love watching things, about how, it all came about, and we watched a great series actually that Peyton Manning did.
Oh, I loved that.
And it was all about, I can't remember what it's called.
Peyton's something.
Oh, I can't remember. I'll put a link in the show notes.
Oh, it's brilliant.
It was all about the history of American football. We love watching things all about American football because it's one of our interests. Similarly, yarn, that's one of our interests. And it was Kay's idea, this show, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is just great, just from someone who enjoys knitting. Yeah. Just filming this. It's going to be entertaining for me to watch. You
don't get a lot of yarn dyers showing their methods for obvious reasons, but I think it's one of those things that's kind of a little bit mysterious, isn't it? That what really goes on, and everybody does it differently. Every dyer has different methods, uses different equipment, does things in a different way. But I just thought it might be nice to show you how I dyed yarn, and that's not the only method I use. There's speckling, there's variegated, there's tonals, there's lots of different ways. So
what we wanted to do was we wanted to start creating these types of things where you know, if ever we need to just have a slight change of pace, because who knows what the future will bring in the world.
Nobody knows, do they? I think we all realise that now.
We don't want to be in a position where we're suddenly not able to go out and do the things we would normally do and not have that sort of capability to have different types of programming, because, you know, we're
just trying to be as flexible as possible. I think you've just got to do that, haven't you? You've got to be as flexible as possible and just think out of the box a little bit.
Well, that's what creatives do, and, you know, it was so much fun coming up, you know, working with you to create that show, and thanks again to my amazing brother for that wonderful music that we heard within the show.
Isn't it lovely? Did you love it?
And of course, we've got, you know, you've already heard the Walking the Dales music, but we have some other versions of that which might be making an appearance in the show too. So that's in full-on production now, Walking the Dales. Filming it, hopefully, we will be filming it when you see this. And first episode when we see you next time.
So, as I said at the end there, I'm going to use this skein of yarn as a prize. So we've actually come to the end of the knit-alongs we had ongoing. So we're in a nice position now where we're thinking about what the next knit-along's going to be. And when we do that, whatever it is, this will be a prize for the next knit-along. So somebody out there will get one of the skeins of yarn that you saw me dye, which I think is a really nice thing.
Yes.
And I hope you like the colourway anyway. I love it. It's really fun to dye. I enjoy using that method, that kind of layering watercolory method. I use it watercolory method. I use it for a few of my colourways. If you've ever bought Water Sprite or Hobbitland, they're both dyed in that same way.
I think it's time for the Endy Bits.
Endy Bits.
Oh, yes.
Oh, is it me again? Right. So, talking of knit-alongs, we've just finished the Umbrella Socks knit-along, so thank you to everybody that participated in that. So I closed the thread and I've drawn the winners.
Woohoo.
We've actually got 4 prizes. What? I've got 3 pattern prizes.
Right.
And then I've got another prize, which is just a fantastic prize. I'll tell you about that in a second. So it's from numbers 2 to 79. The first prize is the yarn prize. I did mention this actually when the knit-along started, but lovely Sarah at Stripy Cat Yarns, she dyed up the yarn that I used in the Umbrella Socks design. You know, the beautiful two 50-gram skeins, and they're both different coloured stripes, and together they kind of form a rainbow. She actually offered to donate one of those skeins as a prize. So Sarah's actually posting it direct, so I don't have the skein of yarn to show you, but it's exactly the same as I used in my design for the Umbrella Socks. And it was called the Yin and Yang sock set. So the winner of that yarn was number 67, and that's Penny in New Hampshire. Whoa. In USA.
Wow.
Now Penny, I've already contacted Penny because I drew these when the knit-along ended, which is a week or so ago now. So I contacted Penny, I got her address, and Sarah is already sending that yarn over to Penny.
Amazing.
In the USA.
Perfect.
I don't know how long it's going to take Penny because, you know,
who knows?
The post is as it is at the moment, but you will ultimately get that lovely yarn. So well done. And then we've got 3 pattern prize winners. So this is the same as the last knit-along that we had. I've drawn a winner for my Beatrix Potter 1 collection, Beatrix Potter 2 collection, and my Swish and Flick collection. So we've got 3 winners. So the first one is number 8. And that's Randy in Kansas.
Wow.
And that's Randy Janelle on Ravelry. So Randy, you've won the Beatrix Potter 1 collection.
Whoa.
So all of the winners that I'm going to say now for patterns, would you just drop me a quick line on Ravelry and let me know that you've seen this, and then I'll get the pattern sent over to you. So well done, Randy. Next winner is number 3. That's my lucky number.
Where?
Number 3. So it's number 3, and that's Susan in California. Very glamorous locations this time, isn't it? We've got New Hampshire, Kansas, California. So it's Susan in California, and Susan is Susan Sews a Lot on Ravelry. So Susan, again, if you could drop me a line on Ravelry to let me know you've seen this, then I'll get that collection over to you. So that's the Beatrix Potter 2 collection. And then the final winner is number 29, and that's Tammy in Washington.
Yay.
And Tammy is Mugsy61 Knits on Ravelry. So Tammy, you've won the Swish and Flick collection. So again, just drop me a line, let me know you've seen it, and I'll get that over to you. If any of you 3 winners, if you've actually got the collections already, if you would like one of your friends to have the collection, then I'm happy to gift it to someone else if you would prefer. Lovely.
And
Thank you all so much.
Sorry. And you bought something, haven't you?
I bought one thing.
Amazing.
That's exciting, isn't it?
Very exciting.
And amazingly,
Stripy Cat yarns.
It's Stripy Cat yarns. I hadn't realised. So yeah, I pre-ordered this from Sarah again on Stripy Cat Yarns. So there's her label. And she's been dyeing up sock sets that are based on the book covers of Harry Potter. I'll show you the colours and you'll know which book cover it is. We've got all of this set of books. I don't think it was the very first print run. I think it might have been the second, but I'm not certain. But this one is the Philosopher's Stone sock set. And I got the one that's like a... I don't know what it's called, but it's like a shorter sock set. So you get 50 grams of the main colour and 20 of the contrast. And I know that's plenty for a shorty set of socks. And this was the colour. So if I show you the colour, you'll probably recognise it as the book cover because it's brilliant. So this is self-striping, and then you get this kind of Gryffindor red 20 gram mini. It's a brilliantly affordable way as well, because quite often, self-striping yarn, it's very labour intensive to dye, isn't it? So quite rightly, it's sometimes a little bit more expensive than a tonal yarn, for example. So this is a great way of getting some of that yarn, but it not actually costing quite as much. And like I say, I can easily get a pair of socks. Certainly I know I can get an umbrella pair of socks out of this without a problem at all. And it's lovely, so thank you, Sarah, for that. I think it's great.
Cool. Folks, thank you so much for watching this beginning of a whole new era in the history of the Bakery Bears. Oh, yes, it's so exciting. Wonderful show today from you. Thank you so much for that.
Well, I hope you enjoyed it.
And we're so looking forward.
It's new, so I'm a bit nervous about it, but... hope you liked it.
And we're so looking forward to next time when we can bring you the very first.
Yes.
We've got the whole series planned out now of this. We're so excited about this. Walking the Dales.
We'll be outside.
Absolutely marvellous. We've got lots of amazing walks in the middle of nowhere. We've done a trial run and we saw 2 souls.
We saw 2 people and a dog.
So, our trial run was a huge success. We didn't want to, put anybody at risk, put ourselves at risk. No. So we know what's been marvellous actually is I've got this app. It's called the OS Maps app. And it's just enabled me to find places, because we wanted to, with this series, just dig a little deeper into areas which we thought we knew. And instead of driving somewhere, instead get there and then walk a good distance and, find some amazing things. We've got some wonderful things lined up along the way, particularly actually excited about the first episode.
Yeah.
So that's coming when we see you.
And there's something very new about this as well, about this series.
There is, yes.
New and exciting.
For a lovely surprise.
Yes.
All coming.
You're going to love it.
Next time. Now, what else is happening? Well, of course, as we've said, the next course in the Knitting U starts on Tuesday, the 2nd of June. The first course is now completely available, and there's a special area on our website actually where you can find everything to do with the Knitting University. But our patron-only show is on Sunday at 2 p.m.
Yes.
British summer time. Yes. And Meet the Patrons is back.
Oh my goodness.
And it's rather epic. Look, the girls who pioneered Meet the Patrons will be forever in my heart, because, they took that step, of putting their faces on the screen, so the whole Baker Bear community could just see what other people are up to at the moment.
Yeah.
Well, in this second one, we've just taken it up a notch.
One person made me physically cry.
Yes.
When I saw what she'd done. You're gonna absolutely love it.
So the next Meet the Parents. That's what we based this on. Meet the Patrons Volume 2.
Most of them are parents, I would have thought.
Yes. Meet the Patrons Volume 2 will form part of our next Patron-only show, which is available live on Sunday at 2 p.m. British Summer Time, but then the recording of the show will then be available for you to watch whenever you like from 3 also on Sunday the
Straight
31st
after,
of May.
basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
So folks, thank you so much for watching.
Thanks, everybody.
Stay safe, stay well.
Yes.
And we'll see you in 2 weeks for a whole lot more.
Yep, see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Sitting and knitting, it's Dan and Kay, the bakery players. Enthusiasm's not quitting for Dan and Kay, the bakery players. They'll take you to fabulous places of which their favorites they'll share. You better buy a pattern, get yourself a bakery pair. You'll find yourself in a castle while watching the bakery bears. It never feels like a hassle to sit and watch the